Hello Houston, my name's Derrick Broze and I'm running for mayor of Houston. Earlier this week I sent out an email and made a post on social media giving thanks to a new outlet in Houston, Houston Landing, for doing some actual in-depth coverage of the mayoral race. Now today, unfortunately, I want to take a moment to highlight the exact opposite, and that is local media who are failing to do their job and are inaccurately reporting the mayoral race. On Tuesday, I noticed that Houston Public Media ran this article discussing what they called Houston's first mayoral candidate forum focused on the arts. Unfortunately, I wasn't invited to this mayoral forum, and it turns out several other mayoral candidates weren't invited as well. Now, I agree that the organization hosting this forum, they have the right to invite whoever they want. What really bothers me about this report is that I noticed that the host, Craig Cohen, and his guests said several times that they had invited all of the mayoral candidates to this forum. Again, this is completely false. I was not invited. Many other people were not invited. So I decided to email the guests and the host, Craig Cohen, to let them know, in case they don't know, hello, my name is Derrick Broze and I'm running for mayor of Houston, and there are actually 13 people running for mayoral office right now. Well, Mr. Cohen was actually kind enough to respond to my email and say thank you for letting me know. Shortly after my email with Mr. Craig Cohen, he ran another segment of Houston Matters discussing the mayoral race. This time he talked with Mark Jones of Rice University, as well as Renee Cross of University of Houston, and they discussed various issues around the mayoral race. This time, Cohen brought up the fact that there are indeed 12 plus candidates running for office, and Mr. Cohen asked his guests why they thought that not all of the candidates get invited to the various mayoral forums. Check out the response.
So we will get to know all of these candidates, well, not all, probably the top 6, maybe 7 candidates very well.
Why is that? And I bring this up in recognition of the fact that there are something like a dozen who have said they're running, and why is it that there are always some that don't get the attention the others do?
Well, I mean, part of it is for these types of events, if you have too many people there, it sort of defeats the purpose of having a dialogue and being able to understand what people are saying and really allowing people to get their message out. It's a tricky, I think early on, you probably want to err on the side of including more people rather than less people. And then once you start having polling, that can provide a way to say, well, these people are 1%, 2% in the polls. Nobody knows who they are. These candidates are sort of more serious. They're running strong campaigns. They've raised money. They have an infrastructure and they have name recognition. And that's where it could, because as we get further along, you want to be able to use these forums to provide voters with real information about who the next mayor will be. And that's tough if you're trying to distribute an hour and a half of time across 12 to 13 candidates, some of whom probably really shouldn't be there not in the sense they always can be there as candidates, but they're never going to be mayor, and they sometimes are more of a distraction than a contribution.
Now, my problem with this is that this is the local media and their guests essentially shaping public perception in a mayoral race in the 4th largest city in the United States. They are claiming that some of us lesser known candidates who aren't the main candidates or the principal candidates, because we don't have the millions of dollars, or because we're not tied to the Democratic Party, or because our names aren't in various polls, that we shouldn't be mentioned and thus we shouldn't even be invited to some of the forums. Again, I know that all the organizations reserve the right to invite who they want. At the same time, we also know that this race is extremely important, deciding who is going to be the mayor of the 4th largest city in the United States. Not to mention that there is historical low voter turnout in Houston, with only 200,000 people out of 4 or 5 million deciding who gets to be mayor. And the interesting thing is Mr. Jones actually mentions this right after the previous statement when he acknowledges how consequential the mayoral race is.
But I mean, it's important, especially in a city like Houston. We have a strong mayor system, which we're the only major Texas city that does, meaning that our mayor controls pretty much everything. So the impact of the Houston mayor on the lives of both Houston residents as well as people in the metro area is pretty profound.
Well, Mr. Jones, I am the only candidate in the mayoral race who's calling to change that strong mayoral position because of the fact that it's the strong mayoral position that is preventing real change from taking place in Houston. And voters and Houstonians all across the city would know about that if you did your job out there, Houston Public Media and other mainstream corporate media outlets, and told the people the truth. There are 13 people running for office, including myself. Next month in July, it'll become official when we can file to be on the ballot. And I really hope by that point that the local media in Houston does not fail to do their job and they invite all of the candidates who choose to pay to be on the ballot and who choose to run in this election, whether or not they're tied to a major political party, whether or not they have millions of dollars, and whether or not their names are listed on various polls. The fact is that if you're running for office, you deserve to be heard. The people of Houston deserve to know the truth. And I hope that you will do your job going forward. Guys, thank you so much for listening. If you want to hear more about my campaign, please visit DerrickBroze.com. We are running to expose corruption and focus on solutions. Please join our movement to make Houston history at DerrickBroze.com. Until next time, remember, you are powerful, you are beautiful, and you are free. Peace.